Hello and welcome to the Sensual Being podcast with myself, your host, Jolene Whiting. I have been a pole dance teacher for nearly 20 years. I'm also a yoga instructor, and my favourite pastimes are connecting to my own sensuality, connecting with the world, and connecting with animals as well. In this podcast, you'll find new and inventive ways of how you see yourself, connecting yourself with others, and also how you see and view the world around you. Today, we are going to be looking at where your focus is going, how to navigate negative thinking, and how to give ourselves more self-belief and champion our own lives. Hello, sensual being, and thank you so much for being here today with me. I hope this episode finds you and your loved ones well and happy and balanced. And if it doesn't, that's okay, because we're here and we can do something about it. So, also, before we start, have you noticed that we have tipped into autumn? We have tipped over the scales and we are now gently sinking into the autumn feels of the leaves leaving the trees. The leaves are being shed from the trees, and it's a time to know that we can shed our leaves as well. So we are cyclical beings and we can adapt with the seasons, and the more we can adapt with each season, the better aligned we can become. A lot of people like to identify with each season. Like, I only like autumn and I only like spring, or I hate the summer. And actually, there is beauty to be found in being a part of all of it and not demonizing any of it. Yes, in the winter, you may get cold, it may get wet. Yes, in the summer, you may get hot. But to be able to embrace a season and work with her is truly a gift of being here and being alive today. And as we go into autumn, it's quite a magical time. It's a very magical time, obviously, because we've got Samhain, we've got Halloween, we've got all of that juiciness, that connectiveness to the other side. So there's a lot to be had in autumn. I'm not going to lie. It's a fun time. But I would say that about every season. But I am really looking forward to sinking in to autumn. So today's episode, today I want you to really think of me as, you know, like sometimes in cartoons you see like good and evil on the shoulder of the character. And you've got them whispering in your ear. So you've got the good one whispering stuff and you've got the bad one whispering stuff. I want you to imagine today that in this episode, I am on the good side. Of course, I'm not going to be on the other side. I champion you in your life. I am not here to bring you down. I'm here to help lift you up and to get you to lift yourself up as well. Because the main person in our life is ourselves. Nobody else. It's ourselves. We spend the most time on this plane with ourselves, not with anybody else. So it's so important to be able to lift our own selves up. And I would like to tap into particularly like, where do you put your thoughts? Where do you put your energy? Yeah. So, you know, do you appreciate life? Are you a bit negative? Are you a bit of both? Because actually we are human. You're allowed to be a bit of everything. But do you find sometimes maybe just a scale tip and it goes a little bit more on the negative side, or lack of self-belief or negative self-talk? If you do this, you are not alone. For a start, you really are not alone. And the thing is, when we get into these patterns, these negative spirals, we can actually feel very lonely, and we can feel like it's only us, and it can feel like everybody else has got their shit together and we do not, and it's just ours. And honestly, that is such a real thing. And unfortunately, that feeling doesn't help you get out of the negative spiral, does it? And also, at the same time, that negativity will feed. So if you look on like Facebook, Instagram, we used to compare our lives to like celebrities in magazines. We did used to compare our lives to, our neighbors, our friends. But now we are comparing our lives in the same way we used to compare to celebrities. And I'm not saying that that was an easier time, because it was not. What I'm saying is now it is heightened, because we are comparing to everybody's highlight reel. And I'm going to tell you something. Everyone is very good at putting out the best parts of their life. Oh yeah. If people put anything out, and there's a lot of people that put nothing out, because sometimes people don't even know how to show up online, because actually it's really hard. I think in 100 years' time, there'll be ways of showing up online that you'll just know. But because it is still so new to be such a part of our lives, that we just don't really know how to show up online. And you're not alone in that sense. So when we show up online and even just look at other people's stuff, we are in a state of comparison. We really are. And you're not alone there. But I want you to really think about, there was a reel I saw on Instagram, and it was by Florence Given. And if you've not read her book yet, Women Don't Owe You Pretty, you should. Honestly, one of the easiest books I've read, one of the best books I've read. It was just such a wholesome book. And honestly, if you're a man or woman, it's brilliant to read. It really is. Anyway, she put out this reel, and she described this so well. I will try and remember it as best I can for you. So she says about being the director of your own life. And she says that when you're watching a film, you have a director that's directed it. And they will like zoom in on the eyes of the person talking. Then they'll zoom in to like the watch on somebody else for the time. Then they will literally guide where they want you to look in that scene. They will also have music playing to create a feeling. They are making you feel a certain way. And this is a magic in its own right. It's not something I like to indulge in anymore. And if you know me by now, you know that I don't have a TV, and I've come away from that. But what I'm trying to tell you is the director will be literally manipulating you. Yeah. And manipulating isn't a bad word. It is just a word. But there'll be, even if it's a good, happy feel, they are manipulating you to feel something. Okay. But what I want you to do is I want you to take that being a director into your own life, but you are the director. You get to decide where you put your attention. You get to decide your wardrobe. You get to decide the plot. You get to choose where you put your focus. And I just loved this. I thought that was so relatable, because we've all watched films and we all know how we can like feel emotional at times, or sad or scared or angry. But if we can actually take that ability of being a director and put it into our lives and hold us as the director, we are the lead act in our lives, and really flourish ourselves in our lives in that way, because we do have an element of control. We cannot control every single thing in life that happens, but we can control our reaction to it, how we respond, how we show up. And I'm not saying in states of shock or upset that you won't feel that. But what I'm saying is, what happens after you felt that? Where do you go? Do you dwell on it? Do you spiral? Or are you able to refocus and rechannel your thoughts? Now, one of the best ways of actually doing this is through meditation. Now, a lot of people say I can't meditate. And there's so many people out there now who say I've got ADHD and I can't meditate. Honestly, if I had £1 for every time somebody has said that to me, I would be rolling in it so much. It's such a big excuse nowadays. Lots of things are excuses to not meditate, but that really is up there. But that is not true. You can. But I'm going to tell you something, a little something that maybe you didn't realize. When you first try and meditate, You feel like you're not doing it right. You feel like you can't empty your mind. You feel like you're not doing very well and that you didn't do it right. So therefore you think, why should I do it? I can't do it. It took me, I've dabbled in meditation and self-hypnosis for years, but it took me, this was about nearly 10 years ago. It took me a good year. I did a course on it, an 8-week course, and it was 2 hours a week. And it was not just meditating, it was learning all about meditation and mindfulness meditation. So mindfulness is very much bringing you into the moment. So it's not particularly spiritual, it's not particularly like religious or anything like that. It is literally coming in to the moment. That's what mindfulness is. And I'm going to tell you, it took me about a year until I found some sort of a groove with it, because I would find that I would say, I was living with my partner at the time, and I said to him, like, oh, can you just make sure you're quiet? I'm going to do meditation upstairs. Can you just make sure you're quiet downstairs? And when I look back now, I realize that didn't matter. And now he even sometimes interrupts me when I'm doing a meditation, not deliberately. He doesn't seek me out when he knows I'm doing that. But if I haven't told him I'm doing it and he just comes in, the interruption is actually very welcomed, because the interruption is life. We are constantly interrupted in life. No one knows this more than if you've got kids. If you've got a young child and they start crying or shouting to you, they're going to interrupt you all day long. But that's life. That's more of an extreme interruption all the time. But what I'm saying is that we do get interrupted in life. So if you are trying to meditate and you just can't seem to do it, there's a noise, there's a clang, your tummy grumbles and you hear it and you think about it, that's life. And that will never stop. But what you want to realize is that it's about, whenever you get these distractions, even if it's just your thoughts, so just, oh, I'm thinking about something else now, I'm not thinking about my breathing. It's just, you need to be able to think, oh, okay, I realize I've wandered off there in my mind. Okay, now I'm going to bring myself back to my anchor. What was your anchor? A lot of the time it's breath. You breathing in, breathing out, and you're just trying to follow the pattern of breath. It's so simple, but no, it's not easy. It's just very simple. So when we do meditation, the act of being able to rechannel your thoughts when you're spiraling, that is what is key here. So if you are somebody who walks around in the day and sometimes you're okay and then sometimes you're upset, and particularly if you're upset with your own negative self-talk, it might even be thinking about things that have not even happened or that might happen, or did you say something right? Was that the right thing to say? And you're overthinking. Overthinking is a lot of it. Are you able to rechannel your thoughts? Because through doing meditation, and I'm not saying you have to meditate to do that in that moment, but if you've got a meditation practice, even if it's just 5 minutes a day, that's it. 5 minutes a day, at whatever point of the day that you want to. It doesn't matter when it is, but it will mean that when you do have those times of overthinking, you'll be able to go, oh, okay, I see myself, I hear myself, that's okay. Okay, I'm just going to breathe for a moment, take a deep breath, and just refocus. And it sounds so simple when I put it like that, but it's only that simple if you actually do the meditation. And I've heard so many people, I mean, I have lots of tools within my spiritual toolbox of how I can help my mindset, but I don't use them every day. So I've got chanting, I've got dancing, I've got journaling, I've got writing in things down on paper, ripping them up or burning them. I've got so many different ways, but I don't do them all every day. But the meditation is the one thing I do every day. And a lot of people have said to me, oh yeah, I like meditation, but I only do it when at times of need. And I'm thinking, if you only do it at times of need, you are missing the bigger picture of actually being able to use this as a tool every day with any thoughts, any spiraling, any negative thinking. It's not something that you just pick up as and when to get the full benefit. You want to try and do it every day. And the reason why I'm doing a big focus on the meditation in this episode is that it is key to all the things I'm going to talk about before this and just after this as well. Because I want you to be able to normalize being happy. Normalize it, because we are living in a world where you've probably heard this, and I've even said this, and I probably still will continue to say it, but I feel what I'm about to say is getting overused. Overused. The phrase, it's okay to not be okay. Oh, it's okay to not be okay. Now, when I first started hearing that, I thought, oh, that's such a relief. Thank you. You know, I feel valid in how I'm thinking, and you should, and I should. But it is getting so overused now that it's not okay. Because people are literally bypassing having to deal with anything, sort anything out. And I'm not saying everybody, but a lot of people are using that. Like, yeah, but it's okay to not be okay. And it's like, yeah, okay, but this has been going on for a very long time. This has actually become your lifestyle of not being okay. This hasn't become a lifestyle of, oh, I'm not okay, but I am working on it. I am trying. It's okay to not be okay. I'm seeing as becoming a way of people just giving up. Just giving up. And if this bothers you, if what I'm saying bothers you, then maybe it's because you can sense it. And now you're thinking, I'm not okay with not being okay. Maybe it's going to go the other way. Because this is such a way to bypass your feelings. And because we don't normalize being happy, you know, and I'm not saying you have to walk around with a scary weirdo smile on your face all the time. But what I'm saying is we don't champion ourselves in our lives enough. We do not celebrate our own journey in life. One of the intentions I like to use for my pole classes is that to always celebrate the uniqueness of our pole journeys, because they're all different. Even if you've been in the same class with the same people, the same teacher for years, your pole journey is still unique and different to you, and we should be celebrating that. And that is exactly the same for your life. We should be celebrating our lives so much more. And these sort of thoughts, all thoughts carry energy. And as soon as we remember the fact that our thoughts carry energy with them, is when we decide to realize that we are in control of our thoughts. When you look at the sky and you see the clouds in front of it, the clouds are not the sky. Just like the thoughts are not actually you. So think of yourself as the sky, and your thoughts are the clouds. And then you start to think, well, actually, I can move those clouds. I don't need to identify with those clouds because I know who I am. And you can start to realize this is the sort of control that we have. But we are living in a day and age where we are being led to believe that we have no control. And you can see this by, I've seen quite a lot of interviews over the last couple of years, particularly since 2020, with youngsters. And I say youngsters as in like late teens, early 20s. And a lot of them are just, not all, but a lot of them are like, well, there's no point that, they don't see where they fit into the world. So they don't see why they should bother with anything because they can't understand where they fit in. And it is hard to know where you fit in when you leave school because there's so much pressure on you to think about what you've got to do with your life when actually isn't living your life the best thing you can do with your life. And unfortunately, not everybody is doing that. Suicide rates have gone up, and I don't think it's any surprise to see why or how they've gone up. It really isn't, because we are being stripped of our own empowerment in our lives. We are being led to believe we're all doomed. We're not doomed. We're really not. But you can look on the media, the mainstream media, and then you think, oh my God, we're all doomed. And then if you go on the other side of it, so if you go on alternative media, which I do follow, but I'm trying to not follow as much because there's an element of being aware of what's going on in the world. There's an element of being aware of what goes into fast food. How often should I have it? That's only an answer for you to decide. But knowing what goes into food, knowing what food is better for your body, there's a certain element of awareness. It's like spending cash. Knowing how much spending cash is actually important for keeping our power as a nation. And if you don't know much about that, then definitely look into that, because I'm not going to talk about that right now. But things like this, to be aware of that, but to not be living in a fear state of all the food in the supermarket is going to kill me, and not to be like, oh, if cash gets taken away, just to be aware of it, because you don't want to be completely unaware, because you're going to get caught out one day. You don't want to be completely unaware, but also you don't want to be living in it, because there's a feeling that I've had lately this year that because I talk about manifesting quite a lot, putting your focus into things and helping it grow. Well, with alternative media, I think there's a balance between being aware and also helping the elites to manifest their deepest, darkest desires for humanity by following along with all of this and putting your energy into it. So when you watch anything like this, whether it's mainstream media or alternative media, being able to watch it without really submerging yourself into that fear state. Because even alternative media is a fear state as well. You have to be very careful. I'm very much on the side of what can we do about it? What can we do about things? And that is where my energy goes. So things like, oh, I want to eat cleaner. So how can I do that? Okay, get a plan together. Try and do it most of the time. We're human. It won't happen all the time. But to try and do it most of the time, like 80% of the time. I mean, if you can do 100%, hats off to you, please do it. But it's finding that balance. It's remembering that we do live in this modern day world and we are heavily conditioned, and how we've been brought up with certain foods. It's very hard to undo that conditioning. It's not easy. So if we can be aware of it, then that will help us. But sometimes the awareness is all we need to move forwards. So really thinking about where you put your thoughts, where you channel your energy. Are you channeling it into things that are going to help you? Or are you channeling it into things that's bringing you into negative spirals? And we also want to look at, whilst we're trying to rechannel our thoughts and our energy, is to not be locked into a state of comparison. Because when we do this and compare to other people, we are not living our lives our way. And it's always really interesting. I get so much from chatting, particularly to my students, because there's a lot of people that come to my pole dancing school. So there's a lot of chats that happen with me, with each other, and they are so enlightening to hear. They really are, because everybody is on such a different journey. But we can all end up comparing to one another, whether it's in the real world or through social media. And when we compare, we hold ourselves back. I mean, doing this podcast, unfortunately, I have lost people in my life, but I've had new people come into it because they are vibing with what I'm putting out. And if you're one of those people, then thank you for being with me on this journey. I really appreciate you, because not everybody is wanting to carry on this journey with me, because it's actually very triggering. And the reason why this journey that I'm on, particularly with the podcast, is triggering for some people is because, one, I'm doing something different. And that challenges people to think, why am I not doing something different? Particularly if there's something that you want to do but not doing. That's when it's tricky. But also, a lot of the stuff that I talk about is what I've talked about today. It's about we have responsibility in how we show up. We can actually take that control in how we show up. We actually have that choice. Now, when you start putting that into people's worlds, particularly if they haven't thought about it before, it's actually very hard, because people are so easy to be like, okay, well, that's how I'm brought up. It's part of how I live. It's because I don't earn any money. It's okay for you. It's not okay for me. It's different for you. And we start to not actually live our life our way. And we're too scared to break out the norm. A friend of mine, Melissa, she's creating this magical masterpiece of a book. And she's putting together so many poems that she's written over the years. And it's scary. It's a scary thing, putting yourself out into the world in a different way, because we are so scared by what other people might think. And to be able to get past that and do it anyway does not mean that you don't feel scared. It does not mean you don't feel vulnerable. Whenever you break out of your comfort zone and do something new, it is scary. It is scary, hands down. But you get the courage to do it. And once you've done it, you get the confidence. And you'll notice that if you've been following this podcast for the whole time it's been running, so now about a year and a half, I think, you'll notice that when I started doing it, my episodes were around about 12 minutes long. And I had good feedback from people, but a few people said, can you not make them a bit longer, please? And I'm like, well, yeah, okay, if you want to hear me, okay. And it's almost like I needed that little bit of guidance from the listeners to give me that push to go, okay, yeah, okay. But it's scary. It is scary. And we need to do these things in our lives to give us that push, because when we do that, we end up getting the confidence to then think, oh, I'm going to try something else. So we use the confidence from that to put into something else, even if it's completely different. And we start showing up different. We start showing up more for ourselves, not for other people, because that is what life is all about. And you're never too young or too old to understand this. And unfortunately in life, there will be people who don't ever know this, who have never been told, or they'll be told all of this and they won't take it. They won't act on it at all. Which one are you? Yes, well, I know which one I want you to be. I definitely know which one I want you to be. You are stronger than you realize. Everything bad that's ever happened to you in your life, you have survived. You have got this far in life. And that is truly a wonderful gift. And I really appreciate you being here. So thank you so much for tuning in today. Remember, as always, to lead through your life with your heart and to live with intention. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this episode, please do share it with your friends and on social media. If you have the time to rate or review this podcast, I'd be ever so grateful. If you'd like to follow me on Instagram, you can find me at Jolene Sensual Being. The links to my YouTube and to sign up to my mailing list will be in the show notes as well. I look forward to speaking with you again very soon.